Annabel and Anaya had been best friends since childhood. They knew everything about each other, or at least, that's what Anaya thought. Anaya had been dating Alex for 3 years, and their wedding was just 3 months away. She was excited, planning every detail carefully, and of course, her best friend Annabel was by her side, helping her choose dresses and venues. But what Anaya didn't know was that Annabel was secretly in love with Alex. She had been jealous from the moment Anaya introduced him to her. And now she had made up her mind. She was going to have him, no matter what. Annabel started planting doubts in Alex's mind. "I don't want to say this, but are you sure Anaya is loyal to you?" she said one evening when she visited him. Alex frowned. "What are you talking about?" Annabel sighed. "I saw her with another guy. They were laughing and holding hands. I thought it was innocent at first, but I overheard something." She told him she didn't think she was ready for marriage. Alex was silent, processing her words. Then Annabel took things further. She used a fake number to send Alex messages pretending to be Anaya's secret lover. She even staged a scene, making sure Alex would see Anaya hugging a male colleague at work. At first, Alex wanted to confront Anaya, but the signs kept piling up, thanks to Annabel's manipulations. His trust was broken. One evening, just a few weeks before the wedding, he called Anaya with a cold voice. "I can't do this anymore," he said. Anaya felt like her heart stopped. "Alex, what are you saying?" "I'm calling off the wedding," he said firmly. "I don't want to marry someone I can't trust." Anaya couldn't breathe. "Alex, please, I don't understand. What did I do?" But Alex had already made up his mind. That night, Anaya ran straight to Annabel's house, crying her eyes out. "Annabel, he left me," she sobbed, collapsing into her best friend's arms. Alex called off the wedding. Annabel pretended to be shocked. "What? Why? I don't even know," Anaya wailed. "He just kept saying he couldn't trust me. But I swear, I've never done anything wrong." Annabel hugged her tightly, stroking her hair. "Sure, it's okay. I'm here for you. Everything happens for a reason." But deep inside, she was celebrating. She had won. For weeks, Annabel continued to comfort Anaya, pretending to be a good friend. She even helped Anaya return some of the wedding decorations. And all this time, she was secretly seeing Alex. 3 months later, Anaya was scrolling through social media when she saw a picture that made her freeze. It was a wedding picture. Alex, her Alex, was standing at the altar, holding hands with a bride. And that bride was Annabel. Anaya's fingers trembled as she clicked on the picture. Her eyes widened as she read the caption. "Congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Alex. Wishing you a lifetime of love and happiness." Her heart pounded. This had to be a mistake. She scrolled down, looking at more pictures. Annabel in a white dress, smiling brightly. Alex kissing her forehead. Their wedding cake. Their rings. Annabel had stolen her fiancé. Tears filled Anaya's eyes. No, this can't be real. She felt like someone had stabbed her in the chest. How could Annabel do this to her? How could Alex move on so quickly? Her phone slipped from her fingers. But while Anaya sat in shock, trying to process the betrayal, something else was happening. Something Annabel never expected. Annabel had gotten everything she ever wanted. She was now Mrs. Annabel Alex. The wedding had been grand, expensive decorations, celebrity guests, and a luxurious venue. She wore the most stunning dress, and everyone admired her. She had finally won. Anaya was out of the picture. But Annabel had no idea that her victory was about to turn into her worst nightmare. After the reception, Annabel changed into a silk nightgown, excited about her first night as a married woman. She sat on the hotel bed, waiting for Alex to come out of the bathroom. But when he finally did, something felt off. He didn't look happy. He didn't even glance at her. Instead, he picked up his phone and started texting someone. Annabel smiled, trying to act normal. Babe, aren't you going to say something to your new wife? Alex sighed and put his phone down. He finally looked at her, but there was no love in his eyes. Let's get one thing straight, he said coldly. This marriage, it's a mistake. Annabel's smile froze. What do you mean? She stammered. Alex stood up, his face hard. I wasn't ready to get married. I never wanted to marry you, Annabel. But you pushed and pushed until I had no choice. Annabel's heart started beating fast. But you proposed. You planned the wedding with me. He laughed bitterly. You think that means I wanted this? You think you won. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You don't even know who you married. Annabel swallowed hard. Alex, you're scaring me. Then he dropped the bombshell. I don't like women, Annabel. The room went silent. Annabel's eyes widened. What? Alex smirked. You heard me. I'm not into women. This whole marriage is a cover-up. Annabel felt like the ground had disappeared under her feet. You're lying. This is some kind of joke. Alex chuckled. You think so? Ask yourself, why did I never touch you all those months we were dating? Why did I avoid being alone with you? You thought I was just being a gentleman. He shook his head. I was never attracted to you, Annabel. I was never attracted to Anaya either. But society expects me to have a wife, so here we are. Annabel's hands trembled. Then why did you marry me? She screamed. Alex's smile disappeared. Because I needed someone desperate enough to do anything to be with me. And you were perfect. Annabel gasped. You betrayed your best friend, Alex continued. You destroyed a good woman's happiness. All because of your selfishness. And now... He smirked. Now you're trapped. Annabel's chest felt tight. This wasn't happening. This had to be a nightmare. You're my wife, but you'll never be my woman, Alex said, picking up his phone again. Do whatever you want, but don't expect love. Don't expect affection. And don't ever think of leaving. Because if you do, I'll make sure the world knows exactly who you are and what you did. Annabel felt her world crumble. The victory she had celebrated had turned into a prison. She had spent years fighting for a man who would never love her. And now, she was stuck in a marriage worse than being alone. Annabel sat frozen on the bed, her heart pounding in her chest. This had to be a joke. She searched Alex's face for any sign that he was lying, that he was just trying to scare her, but his expression was dead serious. You're joking, right? She whispered. This is some kind of twisted prank. Alex chuckled and shook his head. Annabel, wake up. You wanted me so badly, and now you have me. But don't expect me to love you. I needed a wife for the world to see, and you were desperate enough to fit the role. Annabel's breath became shallow. So this whole time, everything, you were just pretending? I wasn't pretending. He corrected. I just didn't care. I let you believe what you wanted to believe. Annabel's hands clenched into fists. Then why did you leave Anaya for me? Why break off the wedding if you didn't want to be with me? Alex scoffed. Anaya was too smart. She was too loyal. I couldn't control her the way I needed to. But you were willing to betray your best friend just to have me. That made you the perfect wife for me. Annabel felt like she was going to be sick. This wasn't the fairy tale ending she had imagined. She had fought so hard for a man who never even wanted her. She thought she was stealing happiness from Anaya, but she had actually stolen her own misery. Alex grabbed his car keys from the nightstand. Where are you going? Annabel asked, her voice shaking. He smirked. Out. But... It's our wedding night, she whispered. Alex shrugged. And... Annabel's lips trembled. People will expect us to. Alex cut her off with a laugh. Annabel, did you really think tonight was going to be some magical, romantic night? You should have known something was wrong when I didn't even kiss you at the altar. Annabel's mind flashed back to the wedding ceremony. He had barely touched her. Her stomach churned. You're my wife for the public, Alex said, heading for the door. But don't expect anything more than that. Tears welled in Annabel's eyes. Alex, please. But he was already walking out, slamming the door behind him. Annabel sat there, staring at the empty room. The silence was deafening. The wedding she had fought for, the man she had stolen, the future she had envisioned, it was all a lie. The next morning, Annabel woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing. Social media notifications flooded her screen. People were commenting on her wedding posts. Congrats, Mrs. Alex. You look stunning. Wishing you guys a lifetime of happiness. OMG, power couple. Annabel let out a bitter laugh. If only they knew. Then her heart nearly stopped when she saw a private message. It was from Anaya. Her fingers trembled as she clicked on it. Anaya, I just saw the wedding pictures. I don't even know what to say. I hope it was worth it. Annabel felt her throat tighten. She could almost hear the pain in Anaya's words. For the first time, guilt settled in. She had betrayed her best friend for a man who didn't even want her. And now, she had lost everything. But this was just the beginning. Because Annabel was about to find out that being married to Alex was worse than she ever imagined. Annabel stared at Anaya's message, her hands shaking. I just saw the wedding pictures. I don't even know what to say. I hope it was worth it. Those words felt like a knife to her chest. She wanted to reply. She wanted to explain. But what could she say? Sorry I betrayed you? Sorry I stole your happiness? Sorry I ruined everything for nothing. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she couldn't type a single word. Instead, she locked her phone and buried her face in her hands. Annabel waited for Alex to return that night. He never did. She woke up in the hotel room alone. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes swollen from crying. By afternoon, she called him. No answer. She texted, Alex, where are you? He read the message but didn't reply. Her heart pounded. What kind of marriage is this? She had fought so hard to have him, but now that she did, she was nothing more than a ghost in his life. Her stomach was in knots. Maybe he just needed time. Maybe this was just how some marriages started. She tried to reassure herself. But deep down, she knew the truth. She had married a man who never wanted her. And she was about to pay for it. A week passed. Alex barely spoke to her. He left early in the morning and came home late at night. When he was home, he was cold, distant. He refused to eat anything she cooked. Refused to touch her. And when she complained, he snapped. Don't stress me, Annabel, he said one night, tossing his jacket on the couch. I'm not in the mood for your whining. Annabel clenched her fists. I'm your wife, Alex. He scoffed. And tears burned her eyes. You should at least treat me with respect. Alex sighed and rubbed his temples. You're giving me a headache. If you're not happy, pack your bags and leave. Annabel's heart dropped. You want me to leave? I don't care, he said bluntly. Stay. Go. Do whatever you want. Her lips trembled. What will people say? Alex chuckled. You were worried about what people would say when you betrayed your best friend. Why stop now? Annabel's body went cold. She had imagined a perfect life with Alex. But this was a nightmare. And the worst part? She had done it to herself. One evening, Annabel scrolled through social media, hoping to distract herself. That's when she saw it. A picture of Alex. With another woman. They were at a rooftop restaurant, laughing, drinking wine. The caption. Dinner with my favorite person. Annabel's stomach flipped. Who is she? She clicked on the woman's profile and nearly dropped her phone. It was Sandra, Alex's ex. The one he had cried over before he met Anaya. The one who had dumped him years ago. Annabel's breath quickened. He's cheating on me. With his ex. Hot tears filled her eyes. She felt sick. But she wasn't just heartbroken. She was furious. Annabel had ruined her friendship, destroyed Anaya's happiness. And for what? A man who didn't love her? A man who was out with his ex while she sat alone in a cold, empty house? Her hands shook as she refreshed the page. More pictures. More comments. People were congratulating Alex on moving on. Moving on. They didn't even know he was married. Annabel felt like screaming. She had thought she won. But in the end, she lost more than anyone else. Annabel's hands trembled as she stared at the picture of Alex and Sandra. It didn't make sense. Alex had told her on their wedding night that he wasn't into women. That their marriage was just for appearances. So why was he out with another woman, looking so happy? Her heart pounded as she scrolled through the comments. "Oh, you two look good together. Wow. It's nice to see you both back together. Sandra and Alex. I thought this chapter was closed." Annabel's head spun. Back together. Her fingers tightened around her phone. Did he lie to me? Was he really not into women, or was that just an excuse to keep me away? She felt like a fool. A complete fool. That night, she waited for Alex to come home. The clock struck 11:45 p.m. Then 12:30 a.m. Then 1:15 a.m. Still no sign of him. Annabel paced the living room, her body buzzing with anger. At 2 a.m., she heard the front door unlock. Alex walked in, smelling like expensive cologne and red wine. Annabel crossed her arms. "Where are you coming from?" He barely looked at her. "Out. With Sandra." That got his attention. He smirked and tossed his car keys on the table. "So, you're stalking me now?" Annabel's blood boiled. "I thought you weren't into women." Alex chuckled. "And?" Her jaw clenched. "And yet, you're all over Sandra. Laughing, touching, acting like you're in love." Alex sighed like he was tired of the conversation. "Sandra knows what this is." Annabel blinked. "What is this?" He looked at her like she was stupid. "You think I love her?" He shook his head. "I don't love any woman, Annabel. But Sandra is useful to me. Just like you." Annabel felt a chill run down her spine. She had never felt more disgusted in her life. She had fought for this man. She had ruined friendships for him. And now, he was treating her like a piece of furniture. "Then why are you with her?" Annabel's voice cracked. Alex shrugged. "She has connections. Money. Power. You were just desperate." Annabel sucked in a shaky breath. She had been desperate. She had given up everything for him. And now, she was trapped. The next morning, Annabel woke up to her phone buzzing non-stop. She groaned and reached for it. Then her heart stopped. Alex and Sandra were trending. Old flames rekindle? Alex spotted having a romantic dinner with ex-girlfriend Sandra. The comments were brutal. "I thought he was married. Where's his wife? LOL, men will embarrass you. His wife must be crying somewhere. If you don't respect yourself, your husband won't respect you either." Annabel's whole body shook. The world knew. People were laughing at her, mocking her. She had been so desperate to have Alex that she ignored all the signs. Now, she was paying the price. Annabel gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through the endless comments. His wife must be feeling stupid right now. Imagine leaving your best friend for a man who doesn't even claim you. Sandra is the main chick. The wife is just there for decoration. Annabel's vision blurred with tears. This wasn't how things were supposed to be. She was supposed to be happy, loved, respected. But now, She was nothing more than a public joke. And Alex. He didn't even care. Annabel heard the front door unlock. Alex walked in, dressed in a crisp designer suit. He looked completely unbothered, like the entire internet wasn't laughing at his wife. Annabel stood up, her chest heaving. Alex. He barely glanced at her. What? Did you see the news? He scoffed. Of course I did. Annabel's fingers curled into fists. And you don't care? Alex sighed like she was annoying him. What do you want me to do, Annabel? Hold a press conference and cry about it? Her blood boiled. People are humiliating me. Your wife. They're calling me stupid. Alex chuckled. Aren't you? Annabel's mouth fell open. Excuse me. He smirked. You betrayed your best friend for me. You ignored every red flag. You married a man who didn't even love you. And now you're surprised. He shook his head. Annabel, if you ask me, they're right. A sharp pain stabbed her chest. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had already embarrassed herself enough. I gave up everything for you, she whispered. Alex shrugged. That was your choice. Annabel stared at him, truly seeing him for the first time. This wasn't love. It had never been. Alex was a heartless, selfish man who had used her. And now, he was done with her. That night, Annabel locked herself in the guest room, shaking with anger and regret. She had lost everything, her friendship with Anaya, her dignity, and now, even the man she thought she wanted. And the worst part? She had no one to blame but herself. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Anaya. Annabel's hands trembled as she opened it. Anaya, I heard about Alex and Sandra. I wish I could say I feel sorry for you, but honestly, I don't. You made your choice. Annabel. I just hope you learn from it. Annabel squeezed her eyes shut. This was her karma, and there was nothing she could do to escape it. Annabel sat in the dimly lit guest room, her back against the cold wall. Her fingers mindlessly scrolled through her phone, her heart heavy with regret. She had barely eaten. She couldn't sleep. The humiliation of her failed marriage was everywhere. People whispered about her. The internet mocked her. And Alex. He lived his life as if she didn't exist. Annabel sighed and kept scrolling. Then she saw it. A wedding picture. Her breath hitched. It was Anaya, dressed in a stunning white gown, glowing with happiness. Her husband, a tall, handsome man, held her close, pressing a gentle kiss on her forehead. Under the picture was a romantic caption. God's timing is the best. He saved me from ruin and blessed me with the love of my life. What I thought was a loss was actually my biggest blessing. #grateful #God's plan. Annabel's chest tightened. Her vision blurred as she stared at the words. God saved her from ruin. Annabel felt like the air had been knocked out of her lungs. She had stolen Anaya's happiness, thinking she was winning. But in the end, it was Anaya who won. She had been protected, saved, while Annabel had walked straight into destruction. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the comments. So happy for you, Anaya. God's plan is always perfect. You deserve this happiness, sis. What was meant for evil, God turned for good. This is what happens when you wait on God. Look at the joy on your face. Annabel couldn't take it anymore. She dropped her phone, tears streaming down her face. She had lost everything. And the worst part? Anaya was right. God's timing was the best. Annabel just didn't wait. She had forced her own path. Manipulated. Betrayed. And now, she was paying for it. She wiped her face with shaky hands. Her heart pounded with a painful realization. She needed to fix her life. But was it too late? Annabel sat frozen, staring at the wedding picture of Anaya and her husband. Her heart felt like it had been ripped open. The joy on Anaya's face. The love in her husband's eyes. the peace surrounding them. It was everything Annabel thought she would have with Alex. But instead, she was miserable. She had betrayed her best friend, chased after another woman's man, ignored every red flag. And for what? To be used. To be publicly humiliated. To end up alone. Annabel buried her face in her hands and sobbed. For the first time, she wasn't angry at Alex. She wasn't even angry at Anaya for moving on. She was angry at herself. She had let greed, envy, and desperation destroy her life. She had ignored God's plan and forced her way into a marriage that was never meant for her. And now, she was suffering the consequences. Annabel took a deep breath and wiped her face. She needed to let go. The next morning, Annabel made a decision. She packed her bags and left Alex's house. No fights. No arguments. No more pretending. She had chased after a man who never loved her. It was time to walk away. She moved to a new city, started fresh. She reconnected with her family, went back to her old job, and for the first time in years, she prayed. She asked God to forgive her, to heal her heart. And slowly, he did. Months later, Annabel sat in a quiet cafe, scrolling through her phone. She saw another post from Anaya. Married to my best friend. God's plan is always perfect. Annabel smiled softly. For the first time, she didn't feel jealous or angry. She felt at peace. She had learned her lesson the hard way. What was never meant for you will never bring you peace. What God has planned for you will always come at the right time. She had chased after love the wrong way. But now, she was ready to wait for the right one. And this time, she wouldn't force it. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. Not everything that looks good is truly meant for us. Annabel thought she had won by stealing her best friend's fiancé, but in the end, she lost everything. She ignored the signs, the warnings, and the truth, and it led her to heartbreak and regret. What is meant for you will always find you at the right time. But when you rush, betray others, or take shortcuts, you may end up regretting it like Annabel did. Let's learn to trust God's timing and never envy what belongs to someone else. What did you learn from this story? Have you ever seen a situation like this in real life? Drop your thoughts in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the story. Subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Share this video with your friends so they can learn from it too. Comment below and tell us your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next story. The end.